Hey everyone, welcome back to Feed Your Brand celebration of International Women's Day. And I am here with Aleah Ava. I got corrected there. Aleah Ava. And she is the Addicted to Love podcast host. And I love the name of it. We're going to explore that a little further. She is a transformational coach for individuals and couples. And she helps with love issues, relationship issues, addiction issues, all kinds of things. We're going to explore a lot here, but we're really going to focus on you, Aleah, today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Tracy. It's really nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, I know we've like passed in our business.
Right.
So this is my day to get to know people who I don't get a chance to, and especially all the really great women on our platform like you.
I saw it before. You've been running a marathon already today.
Yeah, and I'm running it alone. Usually I have my whole team here and I'm running it alone. So we're catching up. I actually just finally got something to eat and took the puppy out for, had to get outside. So I got a little sun for a few minutes. So I'm re-energized and actually can't wait to get back to talking about the wonderful women in the podcasting world. Now, how old is your podcast?
I only started in August last year.
So you're like 6 months in. So how's it been going for you?
Well, I must say I'm now by almost like 10,000 plays, which I think is a great number.
That's a great number. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you should be really proud of that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm getting like more and more messages from people, and I get clients from the podcast. It's been playing in 60 countries. It's like, wow,
You made it. I know. Well, this is such an interesting thing. And I'm so glad you were so open with your plays number. So many people are so like shy about that. They don't want to talk about their plays because they're like, is it bad? Is it good? But you know what the reality is it's only as good as the engagement level. And for some reason, it takes about either 6 months or 100 episodes for you to tip into serious engagement, where you're really noticing that people are more consistently listening. And you might have a few in the beginning, but you'll have, it's more of a wave that happens right around this time period. So for you, you're like right on path. And 10,000 plays for a show that's 6 months old is not bad at all, especially in the niche that you've gotten into. So, if it's the right 10,000, then that's perfect, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So, well, wonderful. Well, tell me a little bit about how you got started. I mean, love addiction, that's not quite the most ordinary path.
No, it's not. But, I myself, I'm a recovering love addict. I've done some serious soul searching and therapy until I myself felt how much of an addict I was. And I thought I'm the inventor of it. I thought I'm the first person that understands that this exists. So I wanted to write about it and do a podcast about it. And then I did research and I'm realizing, oh my God, this really exists. So I could just see that it's good, like there are people, and I think actually a lot of people who mistake love with kind of a dependency or even an addiction, because what we've been taught about love is mostly just BS.
That is so interesting that you say that. And you know what? I mean, there's different kinds of love, right? There's parental love, and then there's relationship love. And so that is so interesting that you find that it can be an addiction. And I hadn't really thought about that until your podcast actually came up, and Alexandra pointed it out to me. She's like, "Mom, this is really interesting." And, and she's like, there's a lot going on here. I didn't know about all this. And so, that's the benefit of getting to listen to you guys as you start your shows. The formation of them, we get to understand what's really going on in such a diverse world.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how your show works, because everyone's going to want to know, because as they find a new show and they say, well, that topic interests me, or I'm curious about that more, they want to know what they're going to get when they listen.
Right. Yeah. I work in the beginning, like let's say the first 17 episodes, I work about the basics of addiction or just dependency in general. And I share a lot about my own journey. I'm quite transparent on it because I always hear one thing from everyone. And that's like, I heard you and I saw you vulnerable, and I can now allow myself to be vulnerable with you. So the first 17 episodes is just basics. And then I go back and forth into how it is to actually recover, because I think me too, I'm recovering. I always have to make sure that I'm not engaging into, let's say, unhealthy dynamics again. And then I just share from my life experiences and interviewing guests and stuff, and just keep developing the show in a way that I feel is most authentic. And
Right.
what's interesting in my show is I have people who are interested. They almost listen to every episode. You see how you can see the popularity of each episode, and it's quite consistent. So it's like, because it's chronologically built, people start listening in the beginning and then they just follow through with it.
Wow. Yeah. So interesting. And, I think that is a really important point. So a lot of times we set ourselves up as experts in something, right? So we set that barrier and people are like, well, you've come so far and you've got this and I can't see myself taking that journey too. And are you the right person for me? And it isn't until they make that connection to, oh, wow, you've walked in my shoes, or, oh, wow, you
Yes.
get it. That's really what differentiates this sort of, like, I'm going to call it the sociological scientific point of it, which you've got and you've
Right.
got an understanding of, but that doesn't always build a great mentor, coach, and relationship assistant, right, to help you through that transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's vital that you have to really, I think you can take people only as deep as you've gone yourself. Like, you can't teach from a point of, yeah, I've read it in a book
Yeah.
somehow. You got to teach from your gut wrenching feelings that you remember on the journey.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I love that. I love that. Exactly. It's also so interesting though that, I mean, we're on International Women's Day. So, are women and men, is this an equal addiction? Is there equality here in the addiction world for love?
Oh my God, when I started out, because I'm a woman, I thought, let's target women. You have your avatar, right? But let me tell you right now, my clients, more than half of it is male. And I get repeatedly feedback like, but we have that too. And I have nowhere to go with my feelings. So does this work for me? And I'm like, yes, because we're humans, whether you're feminine or masculine, it doesn't matter. We all have this beating heart in our chest, and it's just as important.
That's great. I love it. So, yeah. So, it's really important though for you to work not just with the individuals if they're in a relationship. So talk a little bit about how that dynamic works, because I mean, sometimes you feel like, oh, it's all about me, but it's impacting others.
Sorry, I'm not quite understanding what you're
So
asking right
yeah,
now.
so you work with couples as well. So
Yes.
so we think that it's my problem. I'm addicted. Like, how do I come through that? But you really make it a couples therapy at that point, and you work with both. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Because if one is addicted, there must always be the pendant that the addiction works with. And it's mostly someone's anxious and the other one is avoidant. Like, they're finding each other no matter the odds, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm really teaching people and couples is to own their feelings instead of acting them out on the other one, instead of lashing it out, right? Because that's what we basically do in relationships. We're afraid to own our feelings or to even feel our feelings because we confuse that with suffering. That's our imprint we carry through life, right? But I teach them to be vulnerable and to show each other the heart, instead of when you don't want to feel and you just start attacking the other. And that's something that's really difficult. Like, people just haven't learned that. We haven't had role models who have lived that for us so we could understand how that works.
Yeah.
Mostly we've been brought up, parents just demonstrating a behavior that we've adapted, and then we just copy paste it and keep going.
Yeah, that's so true, right? And this is interesting. So how can we get more love in the world, right? How can we get more of the right type of love in the world?
Yeah, I think the first step is really you have to become fully aware of what you're doing and how you're creating your own reality. If the moment you start projecting outwards, the game is lost. You gotta take full responsibility for what my reality shows me, because that's my mirror. That's where I see, hey, what is it inside of me that needs healing? Because every relationship sooner or later will bring that up. And people think love is romance and chemistry and all that. No, at a certain point you have to evolve, and you have to understand that relationships are here for healing and growth. And the wounds that we see in relationships, they have to be healed in relationships. And when you understand that you're here to serve the other, then you're a winning team.
Interesting. So healing. So some are, have some childhood traumas that lead into sexual addiction and other things later on in life. And how do you help with that? Because that is, I mean, that seems deep seated.
Oh my gosh, it's so deep seated because I truly believe everything that we're uncovering when it comes to our wounding, it's really related to the early absence of love. And that means there were moments where we didn't feel loved at the time we needed to feel loved. And then we translated that into thinking, we're not worth it, we're not lovable, we're not good enough. And then we recreate that over and over again until we realize that this actually needs healing, right? So I need to take responsibility and stop putting anything outwards and always ask myself, what is it that I am contributing here? What is it that I'm accepting here? And
Yeah.
when I have this hat, you can take charge and you become the master of your own life and love life with that.
Oh, I love that. I am a lucky woman. I have spent my entire life feeling unconditionally loved. But I mean, I have great parents and who loved me and gave me
Wow.
opportunity. And the thing is that when you can live in that, and if we can provide that for others, it gives you great
Yes.
opportunities. So I went from that to meeting my husband in my first day of college, right? And
Oh
so,
my
and
God. Yeah.
and Tom and I have been married 27 years, and that has happened because he's given me unconditional love and shared that same environment, and it allows you to thrive and grow.
So
And
much.
so that's what we've got to put more out of in the world. And if we can like look deep and say, I owe it to the world to be bringing this unconditional love to my children, to my husband, to my family, to whoever it might be around me, my friends, my
Yes.
sister podcasters, like, if I can spread
Yes.
some of that love and energy, then we're making the world a better place, because now we can all live in our thrive in our opportunities, right?
So much. And I do think it starts with self-love. Like it's really where you have to start. You got to start valuing yourself and honoring yourself. And because you haven't really learned that and you're an adult now, you got to do that job yourself. And then you will attract that which mirrors that. It's really, it's one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really hard for a lot of women. Self-love, that is a really hard thing. I have to
Yes.
tell you, like, the classic, Louisa Hay, doing the mirror work or whatever. I have to tell you, when my coach first put that one to me, I wanted to like strangle her. Michelle Young, you're hearing this, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing. I'm never going to do this. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, what is this going to do for me? But it wasn't until you do that you sit back and realize, wow, I'm surrounded by love and I'm surrounded by all these gifts and opportunities in the world. And yet I'm so nasty to myself. Like, what is up with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And yet at the same time, I believe, the positive affirmations and stuff, they work well if you maintain them. But if you're not really working at the root cause of what makes you feel unlovable at the first place, you're
Mm.
going to have to do a lot of work throughout life. And I think if you're feeling the pain that came with the absence of love, it just regulates itself. I mean, I used to look in the mirror and think, ugh, what are you? Like I could criticize every single point. And I didn't look any other than today. But today I look in the mirror and I think, wow, I really like you. It's a total shift. And it was only when I really came to peace with where I've been, really where I felt wounded. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. Well, I am so excited that your show is on the air and that it's taking off and it's working for you. And I'd love
Thank
for you
you.
to share, how can other women get there? I mean, being vulnerable on the air is really a hard thing. So being International Women's Day, we're talking about balance for better and life in harmony. So these are some of the themes that are ongoing today. But, being able to like balance that fine line between being the expert and sharing, all
Yes.
about yourself, to be vulnerable. You're really treading a very fine line there. How do you do that?
I think most of it has to do because I'm not really ashamed of who I am or what happened to me anymore. And it's because I've come to peace with my pain. I'm not judging that anymore. And I've learned to expose that on such a deep level to my therapist, where I said things that I thought I will never be able to say. And I don't feel ashamed for that anymore. And I can talk with anyone and we're all the same. So I think exposure is key. It's so powerful. If you expose something to someone and you're being loved in that and not judged, I swear to God, it heals on such a level, because that's love.
Oh,
That's
well,
love right there.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this and putting out your voice into the world, and getting other women to do it as well. Like, you're inspiring to that. So that's the power here on International Women's Day, is for us to really expose all of that and share that. And you're already hitting, as you said, 60 countries around the world. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive, right? You should be really proud of that. So
Yeah, thank
so
you.
love translates into a lot of languages.
Oh, yes. And it's kind of always the same, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
Well, I am working on my book. I think that could be very interesting.
I would
I've
love to hear.
just,
What are you working on?
yeah, basically the original idea was to just put the podcast into a book, but then that's not really how it works. Like, spirit just asks you to show up bigger. So now I'm taking my experiences with my clients and putting them into case studies and really making it transparent how I work, which I call emotional recycling, which is the
Ooh.
key to successful relationships, taking responsibility, feeling instead of acting out. And I'm going to just really lay it out how you can do that and how you create so much more intimacy and love and connection. And I've had people who haven't had sex for years, and then I do a couple of sessions and they make love. It's like, this is what I want
This
to
is
put
real
into the book.
success, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, well, emotional recycling, that's an awesome it's an awesome title. Yeah.
Right? I love
Yeah,
it.
I think that really resonates. It really does. So
Thank
good
you.
for you. And
Thank you.
we'll keep us posted, because we'd love to hear when it
Yes.
comes out, and make sure to let everyone know, in the Feed Your Brand
Thank you.
audience and elsewhere, that you were successful in getting that out,
Thank
and
you, Trace.
getting that moving forward. And I do believe that, podcasts and books can support each other, but
Yes.
they don't necessarily have to go straight from the podcast to book. That's not how it works for everybody. So I think
No,
you're doing the right thing if this just doesn't fit you. So perfect. Good for you.
yes. Thank
Well,
you.
Aaliyah, thank you so much today.
Thank
Everyone,
you,
you
Tracy.
you can find Aleah on and Addicted to Love podcast, anywhere. She's syndicated everywhere. And, so you can find her on your favorite player. But you also will be able to find links to this both in the blog post that'll be posted at feedyourbrand.co. And of course, it's on Facebook, and it's there. And we'll put comments, and we'll go back in and add links and everything for everyone to find. So thank you
Great.
so much for joining me. Happy
Thank you,
International Women's
Tracy.
Day.
Wish you the same. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.